This episode is an ESL listening practice for intermediate learners. You will hear a natural conversation with clear pronunciation and everyday English. No tests, no pressure, just listening. Let's start.
Hello, and welcome to another session of ESL listening practice. It is absolutely wonderful to have you with us today.
Great to be here.
If you're tuning in right now, chances are you've hit a very specific and, let's be honest, a very frustrating wall in your English language journey.
The B2 plateau.
Exactly. You've put in the hours, you've memorized the flashcards, and you can communicate, but you feel stuck.
Exactly. B2 is a great place to be, don't get me wrong. But the frustration, it comes when you want more than just function. You want to sound natural, you want to express nuance, you want to stop feeling like you're translating in your head and, start feeling like you're simply speaking.
That's the gap.
That's the gap we're bridging today. We're looking at the roadmap from intermediate, or B2, to advanced, or C1.
It's the holy grail for so many of our students. And I think the most common misconception we see is that the path from B2 to C1 is just more of the same.
Right, more grammar.
People think, oh, I just need to study more grammar rules, or I need to memorize the entire dictionary. But that's actually the wrong approach, isn't it?
It really is. Today, we're going to unpack a practical plan that shifts the focus entirely.
So is it not about volume?
No, the shift isn't about volume of study. It's about behavior and precision. When we look at the difference between a B2 speaker and a C1 speaker, it's really distinct.
Okay, so how would you define that?
B2 is, you understand me, and I understand you. Communication happens. The job gets done.
Functional.
But C1 is, you enjoy listening to me.
Ooh, I like that.
I have nuance. I can handle complex, high-pressure situations in real life and at work with authority.
You enjoy listening to me. That's a high bar, but it is achievable. We're going to break this down into specific steps, covering vocabulary, listening, speaking, and even a bit of writing. But before we get into the tactics, let's talk about the mindset. Why do so many people get stuck at B2 for years? What's the trap?
It's the textbook trap. That's what I call it.
The textbook trap.
Yeah. When you're a beginner, textbooks are your lifeline. You need the rules, the structures, the basic scaffolding.
Of course.
But once you reach B2, you have the scaffolding. If you just keep adding more scaffolding, more obscure grammar rules that even native speakers rarely think about, you're not building the house.
You're just cluttering the construction site.
Exactly. You're just cluttering the construction site. C1 is about precision and flow. It's about using the language you already have, plus some strategic upgrades to sound effortless.
Effortless is the key word there. So, okay, let's look at the first actionable step in this roadmap, the vocabulary upgrade. This is where we see the biggest immediate difference in how a learner is perceived.
It really is.
We all have safety words, don't we?
Oh, we do. Safety words are those reliable, comfortable adjectives we learned in our first month of English. Words like good, bad, big, small, very, and nice.
The basics.
The absolute basics. And look, there's nothing grammatically wrong with these words.
Yeah.
If you say, the meeting was very good, I understand you perfectly. But it keeps you sounding intermediate. It sounds flat.
It lacks punch. It lacks specificity. If I tell you the movie was very good, you don't really know why it was good. Was it funny? Was it moving? Was it thrilling?
Precisely.
Yeah.
So the strategy here is what we call the swap.
The swap.
The goal is to replace 5 basic words a day with stronger, more precise alternatives. It's a manageable number, 5, but over time, it completely transforms your speaking style.
So let's look at some examples of how this swap works in practice.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's take the classic good. It's the vanilla ice cream of adjectives. How do we upgrade that?
Well, context matters, of course.
Yeah.
But let's say you're in a professional setting. Instead of saying, that is a good idea, you could swap it for, that's an effective idea.
Effective, okay.
Or, that's an impressive strategy. Or, that's a useful solution. Suddenly, you sound like a professional analyzing a situation, not just someone giving a thumbs up.
That's a huge difference. Effective implies it works. Impressive implies it has quality. Useful implies utility. You're adding these layers of meaning.
Exactly. You're being more precise.
Okay, what about very tired? I hear students say this all the time. I worked all day. I am very tired.
This is a classic candidate for an upgrade. Very tired is weak. The C1 upgrade is exhausted.
Exhausted.
I'm exhausted. It paints a picture. It sounds heavier. It sounds more real.
It has more impact.
Way more impact. Or take very important. Everything is very important.
Oh, that is the most overused phrase in business emails. This is very important.
It's so generic. Swap it for essential. It's essential that we finish this by Friday. Or crucial. Or vital.
Right.
These words carry weight. They command attention in a way that very important just doesn't anymore.
One more. Big problem. We have a big problem.
It sounds a bit like a child describing a broken toy, doesn't it?
It's a little bit, yeah.
We have a big problem. In a C1 context, we want to say we're facing a serious issue or a significant challenge.
Serious issue sounds like something a manager deals with.
Right. And big problem sounds like something you run away from.
I love that. So the challenge for our listeners is really about practical application.
And don't try to learn 100 new words today. That's not the goal. Just catch 5. If you do that every day in a month, you've upgraded 150 core concepts in your vocabulary.
That is a massive shift in how you present yourself.
Huge.
Okay, moving on to step 2, which is closely related to vocabulary, but it's distinct. We're talking about the power of phrases over words.
Yes.
This touches on something I notice constantly with students who are grammatically perfect but still sound, well, a bit foreign.
Yeah.
It's the rhythm.
Yes, it's the rhythm and the pairing of words. We call these collocations. Native speakers don't build sentences one word at a time like they're laying bricks. We use prefabricated panels. We use chunks.
Chunks. Ready-made phrases.
Exactly. And when a learner translates word for word from their native language, even if the grammar is correct, the word choice often feels slightly off. We call this the translated sound.
Can you give us an example of a translated sound?
Sure. Let's take decision-making. In many, many languages, the verb you use with decision translates to do. So a student might say, I need to do a decision.
Right. I hear that a lot.
Now, I understand that. But a native speaker would never, ever say it. It instantly marks you as a non-native speaker.
Because in English, we make a decision.
Exactly. Make a decision is a fixed phrase. It's a chunk. You have to learn it as one unit, not 2 separate words.
Okay, give us another one.
Responsibility. You often hear, I have the responsibility, which is, okay, it's not wrong, but the stronger, more active C1 phrase is to take responsibility.
I take full responsibility for the error. That sounds strong.
It does. It sounds accountable. Here's another one that comes up in meetings. Raise an issue. You don't say a problem or put a problem. You raise an issue. Or consider the phrase play a role. Marketing plays a big role in our success. If you translate that from another language, you might end up saying marketing has a big part, which is fine. But plays a role is the C1 standard.
And one of my favorites for describing time in the long run.
Yes, it will be better in the long run. These idiomatic phrases are the glue that holds C1 speech together. They make you sound fluid.
So the habit here is similar to the vocabulary swap. We're looking at learning, 3 to 5 phrases per day?
Right.
But there's a catch, isn't there? You can't just make a list.
Oh, a list is useless if it stays on the paper.
Yeah.
You have to bridge the gap between passive knowledge, just recognizing the phrase, and active ownership.
Owning it.
You must use them in sentences immediately. If you learn raise an issue, force yourself to use it in a conversation or an email that same day. Context is what cements it in your memory.
I think that helps with the confidence aspect too. When you know you're using a ready-made chunk that native speakers use, you don't have to second-guess the grammar of that specific chunk. You know it's right.
That is the beauty of it.
Okay, let's shift gears. Step 3, input. We're talking about training the ear. This is often where students feel the most comfortable listening. But are they doing it right?
Usually no. Not if they want to get to C1.
What's the mistake?
At the B2 level, there's a tendency to stay in the learner bubble. You listen to podcasts made for English learners where the hosts speak very clearly.
Yeah.
And slowly.
And they avoid slang. And they explain every difficult word.
Right. And that's great for B1. It's essential even. But if you want to reach C1, you have to stop listening to things you understand 100%.
That's a big one?
It is. If you understand every word, you are not growing. You're just reinforcing what you already know. You need harder English.
We need to move to content design for native speakers.
Exactly. Podcasts, interviews, news, and not just the simplified news. Real, messy, fast-paced interviews. This is where you encounter the real cadence of the language, the interruptions, the mumbling, the slang, the cultural references.
This can be intimidating, though. I have students who try this. They turn on CNN or a fast comedy podcast, and they just panic because they miss a word. Then they pause, rewind, listen again, check the dictionary, and a 10-minute clip takes them an hour.
And that is the trap. That's why we have a rule for this. The 15-minute rule combined with the no-pause technique.
Okay, break that down.
The commitment is just 15 minutes of daily listening to this harder content, that's all. But the strict instruction is, don't pause every time you miss a word.
That goes against every instinct a student has. They want to capture everything. Why is no pause so important?
Because in real life, there is no pause button.
Good point.
If you're in a business meeting and your boss is speaking, you can't hit rewind. You have to train your brain for global understanding. You need to practice catching the main idea, the emotional tone, and the key arguments, even if 20% of the vocabulary flies right past you.
So it's about tolerance for ambiguity, learning to be okay with not getting every single thing.
It is. It's about training your brain to fill in the gaps. When you pause constantly, you break the flow. You prevent your brain from adapting to the natural speed of English. You're analyzing the language, not experiencing it. By forcing yourself to keep going, your brain eventually realizes, okay, I missed that word, but based on the context of the next sentence, I know what he meant. That is a high-level fluency skill.
It's like training for a marathon. You don't stop every 10 meters to check your shoelaces. You keep running. So, 15 minutes a day, native content, no pausing. That handles input. Now, let's tackle the scariest part for most people. Output. Step 4 is the speaking challenge.
And here is where we hear the biggest excuse. I have no partner. I live in a non-English speaking country. I have no one to correct me.
It's a valid difficulty, I'll give them that, but it's not a valid excuse for silence.
Correct. The no partner myth needs to die. You do not need a partner to practice the physical act of speaking English. In fact, speaking alone soliloquy is one of the most powerful tools for moving to C1.
Speaking out loud to yourself, it feels weird at first, I admit it, walking around your apartment, talking to the walls.
It feels incredibly weird, I get it.
Yeah.
But it is so effective. The goal is to articulate your thoughts without the pressure of someone waiting for a response.
Okay, so what's the daily practice?
Simple, 2 to 5 minutes, that's it.
What are we talking about during these 2 minutes? We're not just reciting Shakespeare, I assume?
No, make it relevant. Explain a news story you just heard, maybe from your listening practice.
Ooh, nice connection.
Or share an opinion on a controversial topic. Or simply describe your plans for the day. First, I'm going to make coffee. Then I need to check those reports.
I like the idea of narrating your life like a documentary host. Here he is, opening the fridge, looking for the milk that has mysteriously disappeared.
It sounds funny, but think about what that does. It forces you to access vocabulary in real time. It reveals your gaps immediately. You might realize, wait, I don't know the specific word for that drawer in the fridge.
The crisper drawer.
See? If you were just thinking silently, you would gloss over that. Speaking out loud forces the issue.
And it builds the thinking in English habit.
That is the cognitive shift. B2 learners often think in their native language and translate. By forcing yourself to speak continuously for 2 minutes, you exhaust your brain's ability to translate. You eventually have to just grab the English words directly. You're building the neural pathways for C1 fluency.
So we're upgrading words, using chunks, listening to hard stuff, and talking to ourselves. Now let's talk about polish. Step 5 is precision. This is for the perfectionists out there, but with a twist.
Yes. This is about targeting recurring errors. And there's a difference between a mistake you make because you don't know the rule and a mistake you make out of pure habit, fossilized errors.
The ones you make and immediately think, oops, I know that was wrong, but you say it anyway.
Exactly. And the material we looked at highlights the top 3 culprits we see at this level.
Which are?
Wrong tense, missing articles, and word order problems.
I've been to Paris last year.
Cringe. Classic tense error. You know it should be, I went to Paris last year, but I haven't. Just slips out. Or I need information versus I need the information.
It's a tricky one.
It is. So how do we fix these fossilized habits?
Tell me.
You can't fix everything at once. If you try to correct every grammar point simultaneously, you will freeze up. The fix is to identify your personal top 10. Just 10. Write them down. Maybe you always forget the is on third-person verbs. Maybe you always mix up make and do, whatever they are for you.
Okay, so you have your list of 10. Then what?
Write them down, review them often, and focus only on those. The insight here is that you don't need to be perfect, But if you clean up your 10 most frequent mistakes, your perceived level of English jumps significantly.
So it's about cleaning up the signal.
You're clearing up the static in your communication.
It's about return on investment. Fixing those 10 nagging errors gives you a huge boost in clarity for relatively little effort.
Precisely. It signaled to the listener that you are in control of the language.
Let's move to step 6. We've spoken a lot about speaking, but what about writing? Is writing really necessary for C1? Most of our listeners just want to speak better.
I get that question all the time, and the answer is yes. Writing is the laboratory for speaking.
The laboratory for speaking, I like that.
Writing allows for a pause that speaking doesn't. When you speak, you're under time pressure. When you write, you can stop, think, and choose that C1 word we talked about in step 1. You can check your sentence structure.
So it's a training ground for accuracy.
Yes. While speaking builds fluency, which is speed, writing builds accuracy, which is precision. You need both for C1.
But we're not talking about writing novels here.
No. We're talking short but smart.
What does that routine look like?
3 to 5 times a week, that's all. Write a short opinion, a summary of an article, a message. Focus on 3 things: clear ideas, good vocabulary, use those new words, and correct grammar.
So it could be a LinkedIn post, it could be a comment on a YouTube video, it could be a journal entry.
Exactly. Just getting the thoughts out of your head and onto a screen or paper allows you to audit your own language. You can look at it and say, is this the best way to say this? Could I be more precise? That editing process rewires your brain to choose better options next time you speak.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. It feels like a complete overhaul, but when you break it down into these daily habits, it's actually quite simple.
It is.
Let's look at the final step, which is really about putting it all together. Step 8, the no overload routine. We need to synthesize this into a plan that doesn't require quitting your job to study English.
That is the key. Consistency beats intensity. Every time.
Say that again.
Consistency beats intensity. It is so much better to do 20 minutes a day than 5 hours on a Sunday. Sunday study sessions usually result in burnout and forgetting everything by Tuesday.
So let's recap this simple weekly routine.
Okay, here's the daily menu. First, 15 minutes of listening. Do this while you're commuting, doing the dishes, at the gym. It doesn't take extra time from your day.
Right, it's found time.
Second, 5 new phrases or words. Swap the basics for the advanced. Third, 2 minutes of speaking. Do it in the shower or the car. That's less than 20 minutes of active focus per day.
And then throughout the week.
3 times a week, do a short writing exercise, maybe 5-10 minutes. And once a week, sit down and review your list of mistakes. Just look at it. Are you still making them? Have you conquered any?
That is incredibly manageable. It really removes the excuse of, I don't have time. Everyone has 20 minutes of dead time in their day they can use.
Exactly. And the philosophy here is that small daily actions create big progress. If you stick to this, you aren't just studying, you are living in the language.
That brings us to our final truth for this session. This really resonates with me. We spend so much time thinking of ourselves as students.
We do. But you don't reach C1 by studying more grammar rules. That's the paradox. You reach C1 by upgrading your vocabulary, hearing real English, using it actively, and correcting those small, nagging errors.
It's a shift.
You have to move from being a student of English to a user of English.
A user of English, that's a powerful shift. A student asks for permission, a user takes action. A student worries about the grade, a user worries about the result.
Exactly. When you treat English as a tool you already own, rather than a subject you're trying to pass, your confidence changes. You stop apologizing for your English and start using it to get what you want.
So here is our challenge to you, the listener. Don't wait for a perfect time to start this. Start your day 1 today.
Today.
Next time you go to say very good, stop yourself. Find a better word. Listen to a hard podcast on your way home. Talk to yourself while you cook dinner.
And remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is connection, precision, and nuance. You are closer than you think.
Thank you so much for walking us through that today. We hope this roadmap gives everyone listening the clarity and the motivation to push through that B2 plateau and reach the C1 level you deserve.
It has been a pleasure. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep upgrading.
We'll see you next time on ESL Listening Practice. Goodbye.
Goodbye.